इसको भेजो बहन.
So some thoughts on troubleshooting if you can't find your lower core. And this kind of goes along with a question I feel like I see often, like, well, if I do pelvic floor rehab, do I have to stop everything else I'm doing? And that's like so general, not knowing the individual person. But like, let's take for example, like if you have diastasis recti or you're working on the mom pooch and you're not activating your lower core. Sometimes you need to move backward in order to move forward. So yes, you might be doing these high intensity things, but if you are still not nailing the foundational techniques that are required to do it really, really well, or for the outcome that you desire to happen, it's not going to happen until you go back and figure out what that sticking point is that you're at that is stopping you from getting to where you need to be. So there's a lot of this concept of like you need to be loading and adding resistance in different body positions. That is 100% completely true. However, I really struggle with the fact that if somebody is not going to be able to do it at its most basic form, I'm going to find it highly unlikely they're going to be able to achieve it when I add more complexity and more resistance. They might find just a different body position allows them to do that. So if you've been practicing this lower core activation in standing, get on your back, take it to its simplest place, work on it there. But when I think about even moving backwards, I would think you need to ask yourself, do I know where my pelvic floor lives? Can I feel it? Can I inhale and lengthen it and exhale and contract it? Check, yes or no. Can I inhale, lengthen, exhale, contract, inhale, lengthen again? Can I connect those two with my lower core lifting? And if you find that sticking point, you know where you need to be working your efforts. If we take that concept just a little bit further, like how does that apply to you? I was thinking today, I did some running on the treadmill, I did a pretty high intensity workout, I was doing burpees over the bar and deadlifts, all this stuff, no leaking. I struggled a lot with leaking. In order for that to happen and for me to be where I'm at today, I took a lot of time and I created the foundation where I created a mind-body feedback of exhale, lower core, lifts. Now when I exhale, that's what's happening. I don't have to really consciously create it a lot unless it's a super complicated or I'm fatigued or it's a really heavy load. I'm not really focusing on the very level of the pelvic floor. That takes time to get. But things that help get there is very purposeful execution of it. It's understanding your anatomy. It's putting hands on the body and creating a mind-body feedback of your desired goal that's happening. So if you were having a conversation with yourself as you were working on these things, you would literally go through like, am I feeling what's supposed to be happening through all of these things? Like I inhale, okay, my pelvic floor is lengthening. Exhale, I start to feel the lift from the center of the pelvic floor up with my lower core coming in on an exhale. And putting hands on the belly and feeling where you want to feel those muscles. And then if you feel even just the slightest activation, you're like, okay, noted. That's what that felt like. And what was my thought process as I was trying to achieve that? Or what cues or what position helped me get there? And then you lean into those and you amplify those and you keep putting that sensory information in where your brain starts to recognize it more. It becomes easier for it to happen. It becomes ingrained in your movement patterns. So I want to talk a little bit more about that deep hip pain that you can get in the back of your hip and share another concept that I think is significant to troubleshooting it and figuring out how to move past that pain. So if we consider the hip joint as the ball inside of the socket, we want the ball to sit neatly in the socket like this. But if you're holding a lot of tension in the back of your hip, if you're holding this tension because you chronically